What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Trailer Park Live. We're here on the 2nd Street Marvel, where we're coming at you every single Friday night at 8 p.m. So, in case you're not already, make sure you're subscribed and click the little bell so you get notifications anytime we have uploaded new content. And by clicking that little bell, you also get notifications of any time that I plan on doing a live video. And in case you don't already know, I do this show live every single Friday night at 8 p.m. And thank you all so much for tuning into the 2nd Street Marvel today and tuning into this live show. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome and thank you for being here. And if you're returning, thank you all so much for coming back, as you being here is part of what helps build this community. Now, we have a very special night planned for you tonight. It is a very special night. Now, like I said, if you've never been here before, typically I go over my comic books for the week that I picked up, and I kind of just talk a little bit about a couple of the issues that I read for the week, and then go into and start talking about, just movie news, music, just different things like that. And we interact with you viewers here at the same time. In those of you who decide to leave a chat down there, if you have questions for me, make sure to leave them down there in the comments section. If you have anything to say, make sure that you leave that down in the comments section, as I do always go over all the comments here while we are live on the show. And you all being here tuning in makes it all the much more fun. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to start by talking about I think it's the only issue that I actually got to read this week. It's been very busy, but we're going to start here with Savage Avengers issue number 1. This is the first issue of this new series, and I gotta say, it was actually pretty good. I don't really... I'm not sure if this has been a series before, but it is new. As you can see from the cover, it's got Wolverine, we got Punisher, Elektra, Conan, and even Voodoo. And you can see from the art here, it's got some great art in it. The story here was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty fast paced. A lot of things going on in this issue. Setting up, I don't know, obviously setting up future issues. I believe this was a 32-page book. Some of the other ones are a little bit shorter, but the art in it was very good. The action in it, there was a lot of action in it, and it kind of slowed down too. I mean, it was a good balance of story and action. As you can see, the art in it is really good. So, if you don't have a local comic shop near you to go out and check out, pick up one of these issues, you can also pick them up online at like Comixology or like Marvel.com. DC Comics has their own app. A lot of the publishers have their own apps where you can go and download digital comics and purchase them there. Now, I got to tell you, honestly, the digital comics, they're cool. You can take them with you everywhere. You can just read them on your phone somewhere. But there's something to be said for actually having the actual print issue. I mean, it just looks that much better when you're reading it. And trust me, I read both of them quite frequently. So, it's pretty cool. And, also you could always check out like the Marvel Unlimited app. It's pretty cool. It's a subscription service, and they got different ways you can sign up for that. But it's pretty cool because the Marvel Unlimited, you can read all the comics that they've got downloaded on there. And they've got thousands and thousands of comics on there, from like old stuff to the new stuff. Now, I believe the new stuff it's back maybe about 6 months of issues. So, you can't read like the newest stuff through Marvel Unlimited. But if you're buying the comics at your local comic shop, or even purchasing them online, like the digital comics, they've got the Marvel, just the regular Marvel app where you can read those. But see, they come with digital codes here, and don't worry about redeeming that digital code I just showed you, because I already redeemed it. But they give you these little codes inside of the comics. Marvel Comics gives you the little codes so you can redeem those and read them on your tablet or your phone, or your computer. So that's pretty cool, and that's where I get like the slideshows and everything here to show you, like I just showed you. Is there, just take the screenshot and show you that. Now, typically, when I'm doing my reviews and everything, I edit out the words and everything because I want to show a little bit more panels or a little bit closer art. There, I just had it kind of small, so not really giving too much away. I don't think they're going to slap any kind of copyrights on me. But anyway, the Savage Avengers is a new series that just started. It's a very good series. And the other series that I want to talk about, I didn't get a chance to read it. Yet, but it was War of the Realms, the issue number 3. That actually just came out this week as well. The War of the Realms has actually been very good. I haven't been reading any of the other issues that led up to this. Like, I believe Thor and Avengers, they all kind of led up, had some pre-story leading up to the War of the Realms. But I gotta say, the War of the Realms, I didn't want to buy all the tie-in issues, and I probably won't. But there's a couple of them I've been interested in. I actually picked up the Venom one, I think it was last week, the Venom tie-in issue. But it just had a cool cover on it and everything. And Bill, Professor Bill over at Comic Book University was actually put in a good word about it. I was like, I was curious, so I went ahead and checked it out. And if you don't already, if you guys have never checked out Comic Book University, could you make sure, do me a favor, go over to Comic Book University here on YouTube and check him out. And I think he's got different ways to support him. He was talking about that on his channel this week. So just kind of because you can only put so many ads and videos and things on that like that before it really gets on people's nerves. And just I think he has he mentioned some things in one of his videos he did earlier this week. I think it was the Week in Comics one that he does. He probably has some links in there. I know he put a little link for some merch and everything. Do what you can to support him. I certainly would if my channel's not big enough yet to have like Patreon. I don't know, maybe for Patreon and things like that it is. I'm not sure what the constraints are on that. But basically things like this, like Patreon, and like sometimes when you do live videos, like I'm not, like I said, my channel isn't big enough yet. But when you do live videos, you can actually send in super chats to the certain channels. Now YouTube does take a certain percentage of them, but so when I'm on Comic Book University and he's doing a live stream, I like to go on there and give him a couple bucks, $2-3, $5, leave a comment, and tell him thank him for his work he does. He's not a huge channel, but he does like comic book reviews and everything, and he does the previews early. It's a really cool channel, and like I said, he does I don't know, I guess he does really a service for a lot of comic book geeks or people who may not know what comics to buy or things like that. So for me, it's just a way to donate to him and help support him. And a lot of content creators need that. Certainly one of these days, if I start doing this more, I would hope that other people, maybe people like myself, would be on there watching and want to help support them. So make sure you do that. Go check him out. Professor Bill over at Comic Book University. Cool channel. Does a lot of comic book stuff. So I thought I would just go ahead and put that out there because he was mentioning that the other day in one of his videos. Now, in case you all haven't, that's all I've got for my comic books. In case you haven't all been paying attention, I am doing a giveaway as well. When we hit 200 subscribers, I'm doing a giveaway for a copy of Warner Brothers Aquaman. So to get entered into that giveaway, you got to leave a comment on this video or any of the videos going forward until we hit 200 subscribers. So make sure you leave a comment in this video or any of the other videos from when we hit 100. You got, a whole bunch of chances you could get entered into a chance to win that. And also, going along with my comic books, I am giving away a trade paperback of the War of the Realms main story arc when it comes out on trade paperback, and I believe that's in August. So to get entered into the giveaway for that trade paperback, you got to leave a comment on any of my comic book pull lists that I do every single Wednesday. So you can go check any of those out, leave a comment, check out what was on my pull list, So that's just how you get entered into those particular two giveaways. Now, moving on, like I said, typically I go over some of the things that are happening in movies this week, and there's actually been a lot of stuff happening in movies this week. There's been, I guess... was a director, and I'm sure he's producers as well. John Singleton recently passed away, and I believe it was earlier in the week, or maybe it was last week, when he actually got admitted into the hospital. And that's a pretty sad thing. I know he's directed a lot of movies that I've liked, and God, didn't he? I believe he actually did the first reboot of Shaft with Samuel L. Jackson. And if you've never actually seen Shaft, the Samuel L. Jackson, I believe it was from 2000, might have been 2001. You got to go check out that movie. That movie was really good. Now, the Shaft actually has a sequel getting ready to come out. Now, I'm not sure that it's ever going to be quite the... I don't think it's going to be able to reach what that Shaft did back in 2000, because that movie was really good. Had Samuel L. Jackson, Christian Bale, Richard Roundtree was in it, obviously. It was a really good movie. If you've never seen that movie, it's one definitely worth checking out. So another big one, obviously, that people have been talking about is getting ready. It just released this week. Is The Long Shot with it's got Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. I'm probably gonna actually see if I can get to go see that by I don't know, maybe like Monday or Tuesday. I've got a super busy weekend planned. In case you don't already know, Free Comic Book Day is tomorrow on May the 4th. So May the 4th be with you, and get out to your local comic shop and check out some free comics. Pick one up, and you know your local comic shop probably has discounts going on comics as well. So get out and check that out. And also where I live, there's another event going on Sunday where I'm going to be working at. So it's going to be a long day, but it's going to be a very good day for me that day. And in case you don't already know, will be planning a live stream tomorrow from my local comic book shop. I'm going to go in there, have a little booth set up, going to be doing a live show. I'm not sure. I might even... Spider-Man might even show up, if in case you know what that ever means. I don't think I've done that here on this channel yet. But so make sure that you tune in for that tomorrow. We'll be at my local comic shop, which is Bases Cards and Comics, right here in Lancaster, California. So if you're near the area of Lancaster, California, you should get out and check them out sometime. Bases Cards and Comics, they're right off the 14 freeway at Avenue M. And pretty cool shop. They got all kinds of stuff. They normally have like card tournaments they do there on the weekends. Really cool place. The owner there, Rob, is really excellent. He asked me to, if I'd come in and hang out tomorrow, and I asked him, I was like, hey, yeah, cool. Could I bring on my computer and maybe do some live streaming from there and everything? And he was like, sure. And I've actually thought and talked to him before about possibly doing this show here, the Trailer Park Live, there from the comic shop. So hopefully one of these days I can get things sorted out to be able to do that there on Friday nights, and because I'm sure it's pretty lively there. And I would actually probably want to get somebody to come in and help co-host that with me, because I would want to maybe go around and show off the shop and things like that. I just think it would be, he was asking ways that he could help support me here at the channel, and which I thought was pretty cool, and I was telling him about that, and he thought that was a good idea and was totally open to that. So hopefully one of these days I will be coming to you live from the comic shop for that. I think that would just be a lot of fun to show off the comic shop and do that. Okay, now the next thing I want to talk about is Avengers Endgame. Okay, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it. I'm definitely not going to get into spoilers here on the show tonight. I want to save that for, particular times when we're ready for that, because, I don't want anybody spoiling the movie for anybody right now, because I'm sure there are probably people viewing this right now who haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet. But if you haven't been out to see it, you should go out and see it. It's a very good movie. Honestly, some of you may not have been able to see it because maybe seats were sold out wherever, in your local theater. I know they were sold out in a lot of places for a long time, and people were selling them for outrageous prices, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know. I'm a big time nerd, so I was there at 5 a.m. trying to get my tickets online, and I got my tickets for the whole weekend before the internet broke. So I went and seen it 4 times throughout that weekend. I was seeing it Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. That's what we do here at the Second Street Marvel, to bring you movie reviews and things like that. And I haven't done my movie review for it yet because, I started unpacking everything that happens in this movie, and there's so much. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a straight review of it, and then I'm going to start doing a bunch of a string of videos afterward, going more in depth in a lot of things that happen in the movie, because there's so much that happens in this movie that, it'd be too long for me to actually cover in a complete spoiler review. And you've probably seen some of my videos here. I've gone on for an hour before, just about, I think I did a video that was nearly an hour where I pieced together so many things in my video, and it wasn't a live video, it was an actual video I produced. I basically did a documentary on this. I think it was just a couple of theories that I had for, probably Avengers Endgame. So it gets pretty ridiculous. That's how nerdy I am about this stuff. And that's how I end up going to see Avengers Endgame 4 times in the same weekend. Now you got to think, Avengers Endgame is 3 hours long. Okay, 4 times, that's 12 hours of my life I invested in one weekend. But I also did it because I knew that coming up in my life, it was just going to be too busy for me. This whole week here has been busy for me. In case you don't know, I own my own business, And about 2 months ago, almost 2 months ago now, I was in a collision and my work van got totaled. And just waiting for insurance to come through with things for things like that, for the money to get it paid off. And it's been a real mess. And I've been having to improvise running my business. So what I was doing in the meantime was I was working out of my truck. I had problems going on with my truck, so I was working out of my wife's car. And my wife, she works, and we got kids, and we've got a bunch of stuff going on. So it's affected a lot of my life. And so I finally got everything fixed. I got my truck fixed, so it's everything is finally going. And it's a busy week. I got things planned for this weekend. Free comic book day. Got the flea market going on this weekend. Busy stuff, busy life. I'm sure you all have busy lives as well. We all do, and that's just one of the things that one of the reasons I went and seen this movie 4 times over the last weekend, because I knew I wasn't going to get a chance to probably until this next week. And I'm thinking next week I might have some other things planned. Like I said, I do want to go out and see that movie, The Long Shot, with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. I've heard good things about it. I want to go check it out. It would be a change of pace from Avengers Endgame, and then maybe I will go see Avengers Endgame again. But I probably don't have a lot of viewings left. Seeing it 4 times is a whole lot. And I might just go to see it one more time just for entertainment's sake, and I think really that's all I've got left in me. Like I said, it is a good movie. Now I haven't done a ranking list of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, and I will be doing one of those very soon. And like I said, I've got to figure out where this one exactly falls, because it is a great movie. Don't get me wrong, it is an absolute phenomenal movie, just like Infinity War was. And I'm trying to decide. I don't know between the two of these movies which one. And they say they're not a sequel. One's not the sequel of another, and it's really not. They are pretty self-contained movies. But they are such excellent movies. And, I even said about Avengers Infinity War, and I actually still feel this way about this one over Endgame, is that Avengers Infinity War, there are serious filmmakers out there who have not made this great of a film before. The movie had plenty of action, plenty of comedy, plenty of drama. It's got a great soundtrack, great cinematics. Just everything about the movie was really great. And so it's really, like I said, it's kind of the pinnacle of these comic book movies. It really is. Just Joe and Anthony Russo, just, I don't know, they put together one hell of a movie. And like I said, there are serious filmmakers out there who haven't made this great of a film. Now, Avengers Endgame is about, I gotta say, it's like the same thing, because there are a lot of things that happen in this movie that I think are better than Avengers in Infinity War. And there are some things about this movie that aren't as good as Avengers Infinity War, because now, in case you don't already know, these movies, and here's the reason, like these last two movies are ranked pretty high in my list, but there are still solo movies out there that I have ranked above these movies. And for the simple fact of the reason being is these movies, and we're seeing it right now, are really like, this one especially is like a cultural phenomenon. But Avengers Infinity War was the stepping stone to that. Now, the thing about these movies is these movies are the culmination of all the films surrounding it. So it really doesn't have legs to stand on without the universe that's built into it. So, that's one thing I take into consideration when I'm doing my ranking list for all these movies. And so, like I said, as good as Avengers Infinity War was, I can't put it above some of these other movies. And I'll just give you one of right off the top of my head, Iron Man. I can't put Avengers Infinity War or even Avengers Endgame above Iron Man. Simply because, for one, Iron Man kicked off the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it is that good of a movie. Jon Favreau came in and knocked it out of the park. It was absolutely great. And, we seen back then that they were actually starting something special, and it all started with that movie. And one of the things I made in one of my videos that I talked about a while back, at the very end of the movie, Robert Downey Jr. made the proclamation, "I am Iron Man." And you know what? Like, just thinking about it, especially after seeing Avengers Endgame, it's hair raising. It's hair raising. I mean, it reestablished Robert Downey Jr.'s career, but also the way he embodied this character was really, really awesome. And the whole character arc of Tony Stark throughout the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe was really well crafted and really well written. Now the thing is it was actually done by different writers along the way. It wasn't the same writers throughout, but somehow, and this comes to Kevin Feige, it was actually the character arc was actually really well done from part one where he was completely just like an arrogant narcissistic billionaire philanthropist, right? And into the second one where it takes that a step further, but then you see how it actually started to affect his life, and then he started to you could really see it there. And then by the time we see, by that point we've already had Avengers and everything, and it started to affect his life. And then we see Iron Man 3 where it comes out, and he was pretty much he was kind of like almost ready to give it up. As you seen, he destroyed all the suits. And then we get to Captain America Civil War, where by that point, I was like, you know what, F Tony Stark, I've had enough of this dude. Okay, like I'm Team Cap all the way. And it was just something really cool that something cool they did with that character arc. And to see the way it culminates in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, that's why I said these movies don't have nothing without all the things around them. Basically it has no legs, and they are the legs, these individual films. So Avengers Endgame it's I'm having a hard time placing it because like I said, there's so much action in this movie. There are some scenes in it where it falls, I don't say it falls short, it's just some of it is fan service, and and I'm glad. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad for the fan service that they did in this movie, because the fan service they did in the movie was absolutely great. I mean, I'm talking, making baby batter kind of great. Like the movie was great. Okay, like I said, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there are things that happen in this movie that are 100% fan service, and it was phenomenal. And some of it, like didn't have to be in there, and that's where some of it's kind of like, okay, it could do without that, but that doesn't necessarily take away from the movie. But then there are other things that happen in this movie that are just like, whoa, like. There's one in particular scene. There's one character arc, a particular character's arc in this movie that it's really rough. I mean, this character has had a kind of a crazy arc throughout the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the character arc to take through this. I heard somebody commenting the other day about like it's kind of messed up because this person is just like comic relief the whole time, and it's like, really, like I didn't get that at all. I did not get that at all about this character's arc. And there were things when as it all happened leading up to that. And here's where I'm talking about how great this film is the directors. I'm such a film geek. I see things like I said, in the movies, all the things, all the cinematics leading up to it were man, they played it well. And I knew this particular scene was coming up. I didn't know it was coming up, but I could tell that just the way everything was changing, that it wasn't going to be necessarily a great a good thing happening, just because there was a build-up. There's a certain build-up to it. And some of this I get from like Quentin Tarantino. If you've ever seen a Quentin Tarantino movie, he does a lot of these kinds of things in his movies that build tension, that just things like that. If you've ever seen like a film like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's the way the camera switches, the way it pans back and forth, moves back, just all those kinds of cinematics. And there is a lot of that in this film. And then, like I said, these films, this Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, aren't necessarily, one's not the sequel of another, but they really do go hand in hand. And you would definitely have to see both of them for Avengers Endgame to make sense. And I don't know why you would go see Avengers Endgame without seeing Avengers Infinity War. Now, you could just see the two of these movies without seeing most of the stuff leading up to it, but, you really should. Like I said, when I took my mom to see it, she walked out of the theater like, wow, I've got to go watch all these films leading up to this. And that's what I say in case you didn't see my thumbnail for this video about phenomenal or fluke. Okay, now the fluke meaning, it's not necessarily it's just basically like a one-hit wonder. And is that what this movie is? Um, and it's really hard to say because this movie is out there breaking box office records, and it's probably going to continue breaking them. And that's the thing: is it a fluke, or or what's going on? And I've got to say, it's just it kind of seems like it is like it's going to be a one-off kind of thing, because it is actually the buildup of these past 10 years. And even going forward the next 10 years, we may get more movies, we may get bigger events going on, but are they going to match exactly what happened here at this time? And for one, because this is the first time that it's happened, and no other movie franchise has ever really done this. Now the thing is everything leading up to it, those definitely aren't. Those aren't the one-offs. Those are the things that gave this movie the legs that it has. Like I said, without it, you don't get it. So that's kind of what I meant by my thumbnail on there. Phenomenal or fluke, because this movie is phenomenal. Like I said, it does a lot of things in this movie that are really good. Fan service, yes. Great drama, yes. And I brought up Quentin Tarantino because it was something, a comparison I had made before, that I believe this film is kind of like Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2, where one was action packed and it had just a lot in it, a lot happened in it, had some story in it that helped bring you in. And then the second one, where it had more story, it was a little bit slower paced, and it still had that action in there. So I think these movies are exactly like that. Christopher Marks and Stephen McFeely did a phenomenal job writing this movie. Joe and Anthony Russo did a great job directing it. All the cast involved in this movie did a great job. They all brought their A game. There isn't one person in this movie who's in the movie at all that has a performance that did not bring their A game. I can tell you, and there's some of them that just it was absolutely great. And I don't want to get into exactly which one those are because, here on this live show, because it's spoiler territory. And I will be having that in some videos that I'm going to be having coming up. Now, okay, all of that being out of the way, let's go ahead and get into some other things that have happened this past week. Or actually today, as a matter of fact. In case you don't already know, we did just recently get Spider-Man, and it seems like it's been a long time ago, but it really hasn't. Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, finally. And for me, it's one of my favorite iterations, the Tom Holland Spider-Man. It is really good. It's great. But in case you all weren't there, 17 years ago, Joe and Anthony Russo aren't the first guys to really make phenomenal superhero movies based on Marvel properties. As a matter of fact, there's quite a bit of them. If you didn't see Dolph Lundgren's Punisher clear back in the 80s, that was great. Or even Thomas Jane's Punisher that he was in with John Travolta back in like 2001. It was a great movie. Of course, they're Punisher movies, though. How can they not be great? Or even the Blade movies with Wesley Snipes. But there was a phenomenal filmmaker 17 years ago today. Sam Raimi first came out. The first Spider-Man movie debuted at the movie theater 17 years ago. And it's hard to believe, but I showed this off a few weeks ago, but I figured I'd show it all off tonight. And here it is. I mean, you can see right there, Spider-Man only in theaters, May 3rd, 2002. Man, isn't that crazy? That's hard to believe that it's been 17 years since this movie premiered at the movie theater. And this really kicked off a lot of things. These were Pop-Tarts I got from when that movie came out. And yes, that's not just the box, folks. That's unopened. I'm willing to bet you I could probably pull these things open and eat some right now, and they're probably still just as good as the day they were bought. Pop-Tarts are full of all those preservatives and all that sugar and everything. They're probably still as good as they were the day they came out. And there's that. Still got those laying around. Got some action figures too. But the other thing I had was this right here. Got the Spider-Man box set when this movie got released on DVD. Now this box set actually has a lot of cool stuff in it. Now, Spider-Man is, like I said, you guys can see Spider-Man, in case you don't already know, Spider-Man is one of my favorites, has been one of my favorites ever since I was a little kid. I mean, and who doesn't love Spider-Man? I mean, Spider-Man is kind of an everyman superhero because, I mean, he's just a teenage kid, he gets superpowers all of a sudden, and, all of a sudden, it's great, with great power comes great responsibility, and that's a theme I think we could all kind of try to live up to, and it's true, especially if you have kids. I've got 3 kids, so you got a great power in that case, and you definitely have great responsibility. But in this box set, I said this movie is great. I love this movie. Sam Raimi, man, Sam Raimi is one hell of a filmmaker, and if you've never seen a Sam Raimi film, you got to go check out any of his movies. You can go literally. I think you can go watch any Sam Raimi movie, and you can actually see stuff from his movies in this movie, in Spider-Man. Like Evil Dead. There's callbacks to Evil Dead in this Spider-Man movie. Evil Dead 2. Go check them out. Army of Darkness. Great movie. Now those 3 movies are a trilogy. Actually, the first 2 are like one's. It's not a sequel, but I mean it kind of is. But it's almost like a reimagining of the original one. They just had a bigger budget. Great movies. You should go check them out. But I mean, you could even check out like The Gift. Sam Raimi's The Gift. Great movie. Absolutely great movie. And it's got a great cast in it. And it's got one of my favorites. It's got Keanu Reeves. How could you not like Keanu Reeves? Who doesn't like Keanu Reeves? Crazy people. Crazy people, that's who. But so anyway, this box set, it's pretty cool. It got like this, came with this film cell. It was like one of Sam Raimi's favorite, things from the movie. I don't know if I have a piece of white paper to put there behind that. It came with that little film cell. I thought that was pretty cool. It came with the movie. The one thing I can't seem to find is it came with actually this DVD, and I'll show you here. But it came with this DVD. I gotta see if I can find it. It came with this Stan Lee's Mutants, Monsters, and Marvels. I gotta see if I can find that DVD. But it was basically Kevin Smith interviewing Stan Lee, and I gotta see if I can find that DVD. It's got to be worth something. And it also came with like a reprint of Amazing Fantasy, Spider-Man's first appearance there. Pretty cool little box set. Now I actually had some friends, some of my good friends, some of my best friends that were actually extras in this movie. They actually did some extras work. They were doing some extras work down in L.A. at the time, and they were in the scene where they go where he's wrestling Bonesaw. Bonesaw's ready. Yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage, man. Great movie. Absolutely great movie. And like I said, and a lot of there's some people out there who still think that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man out there. And I still like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong. I actually like who's the other guy? The tight jean kid. I like his Spider-Man as well. I can't even remember his name. Topher Grace. Ooh, that's messed up, isn't it? Y'all know what I'm talking about. But great movie. Now, 17 years. 17 years is hard to imagine. But, there was another major thing that happened 17 years ago on this exact day. My father was actually killed in a motorcycle crash the day this movie premiered at the theater. And I was actually in the movie theater when that happened, watching the movie, which is kind of crazy. I mean, quite normally he would have been at the movie theater with me because he was a fan of these movies. He was a fan of comic books, and I'm sure that's probably where I got my love of comic books as well. I've got some issues down here, like you guys have probably seen me talk before about my Incredible Hulk issue number 181, which is the first appearance of the Wolverine in the Incredible Hulk, and I've got that issue. It's something I guess you could say he left for me. But he liked comic books, and my mom said that he used to have a huge Foot Locker of just like comic books and everything. I'm like, man, kind of wish we still had those around. But I mean, even more so, I mean, kind of wish we still had that around. But and not kinda, you know what I'm talking about, man. But yeah, here's a picture of him. That was my father right there. You can see he's a motorcyclist. He liked riding his motorcycle. He actually, like I said, he actually died while riding his motorcycle. in a motorcycle crash. And my mom's actually still got this bike. I've actually been planning about on going and buying like a little motorcycle, like a small one to just learn and start riding. So then I can tell my mom like, hey, bring that motorcycle out here so I can be driving it and riding it through the mountains, and just enjoying it, just like I do my bicycle. Um, but yeah, so 17 years ago, it really didn't. I really didn't even think about it until I was watching the John Campea show this morning, and we all heard about. Oh man, why the guy who played Chewbacca died today as well. Why all of a sudden did I forget his name? Probably because I'm here live and doing the show and talking about my thing. But that is pretty sad that he died. We lost Chewie today as well. 17 years ago, I lost my father. And like I said, he was a fan of comic books, and he definitely loved these movies. And I know that he would be at Avengers. He would have been at Avengers Endgame with me on Thursday night as well. If he was still around. So yeah, it was a tough time. Went through a lot of stuff. Afterward. At the time, it was drinking a lot. I don't even really drink anymore these days, and it's not necessarily because of those times neither. But I was drinking a lot. I ended up getting a DUI later that year, and hell, what was I? Was I 20, 21? 21? Man, 23? Would have been 23 at the time. 17 years ago. Man, I'm getting old, man. You see all that gray in there? See all that gray? Um, so yeah, man, it was a rough time in my life. It was definitely a rough time in my life, and obviously, so that's part of the reason Spider-Man, especially this movie, will hold a particular place in my heart, and especially like Spider-Man 3. Now we all know that Spider-Man 3 is it's not the best movie out there, but it actually released close to the same anniversary as well. But then there's actually this particular scene in the movie as well that was quite moving for me. That uh, considering all this stuff as well. So there's some things going on in there as well, and in a scene in that movie that, like I said, it just kind of hits close to home. And I guess it just and thinking about that, I've got one of my uncles right now as well who I just found out after. God, I think it was last week. He actually just got admitted into the hospital, and he's going to be there in the hospital for like 2 weeks. And, they had to airlift him to this other hospital, because where I'm from, they've got a good hospital, but they don't have all the services there that bigger, better hospitals do. So he's in the hospital right now today. So he's still there. So I don't know. Like I said, it just kind of thinking about like Avengers Endgame, we got this culmination of things. The Spider-Man anniversary just rolled around today. My uncle's in the hospital. Just kind of just thinking about all these things, man. That's it's crazy, man. This life we live in. You gotta let those people out there, that you love, let them know that you love them. Make sure that you hug your loved ones every day. Let them know that you love them, because obviously we know they're not always gonna be there for us. They're not always gonna be there with us, and so. I've missed my father for 17 years, and there's so many times that I wish he was around to, to talk to get advice from. And sometimes I still feel like like I actually still get that advice and get that talking to from him, just from you know I'm not like a spiritual person or anything like that, but I think I still get the lessons that he taught me as I was growing up. I think I get answers from him just through those. It's funny, when you sit back and think about times like that. You don't. I don't remember the bad times. Even the bad times seem like good times. I can tell you. I can tell you about some bad times, but when I think about it, I'm just like, yeah, was that a bad time? I don't know. It was just like a funny time. I'm not gonna get into the story, but my sister's graduation. My sister's graduation. Oh man, what a time that was. Okay, that was it was definitely a trying time. For me and my father. It was pretty funny. Pretty funny story. Probably not so funny depending on who's telling it and who's remembering it or anything. But it was yeah. Anyway, definitely not my best moment. Definitely not my father's best moment. But then, like I said, you remember all the good stuff, and I remember all of the good stuff. You know, like I said, there's bad stuff in there. I remember. I mean, there's some bad stuff. I remember, but you know, it's over resounding. It's the good stuff that you got to remember. And some of that is like things like I had to do this week. You know, I was working on my truck. You know, I had to change some ball joints on my truck. You know, and that was a lot of work, especially if you don't have all the right tools. Luckily, there's places out there where you can rent tools, so you have all the right tools. But you know, I had to go out there and I had to do that so I could get it in and have it aligned, so I could get back to running my business. And you know, I've been doing a lot of improvising with my business. I'm even here on my YouTube channel. You know, you've seen I've been doing a lot of live videos lately as opposed to the well-produced videos that I like to do. But you know, improvising, and that's just, you know, just another thing that, you know, one of those things that my parents instilled in me, you know, and especially my father, is, you know, you got to do things. I mean, you got to do things obviously to support your family. You got to be a man, you know. And you know, when you get dealt a shit hand, you got to do what you can to fix the problem. And like I said, what I did this week, you know, changing out those ball joints and doing all, you know, tie rod ends and all that stuff, he didn't teach me that. But you know, I was there plenty of times, getting yelled at for holding the flashlight the wrong way. That I learned, you know, I learned from watching him. And you know, it's something, you know, a lot of parents don't do these days, and it's something that you need to do for your kids. And if you got kids, you need to do it, you know. And if you don't know these things, you need to learn how to do them. Some of the stuff I had to get on YouTube, here on YouTube, to learn how to do. I mean, not even just to learn, but just see like, okay, how do I do this, how do I do that, because I've got a book that's got all that in there. But without that working knowledge, without getting yelled at for holding the flashlight wrong, without getting yelled at for you know, just being there while he's getting frustrated while he's trying to work on the car, without that, I wouldn't have been able to do what I just did, you know, over this past week. And you know, it's just something, you know, like I said, I was fortunate enough to be there, you know, to have my father there, through, you know, through, I guess he was there pretty much through to my adult life. You know, I was fortunate, and not a whole lot of people get that, unfortunately. And that's why I say you got to go out there, make sure, you know, you know, and if even if you're, you know, older, my age now, I'm 40 years old now, and if your parents are still around, go out there and give them a hug. Make sure that they know that you love them and appreciate everything they've done for them. And if, you know, if your parents weren't always there for you and to appreciate for those things like that, man, I'm sorry. And that's just something that happens, you know. That's just kind of the world we live in. You know, some people aren't always ready for that kinds of stuff neither. And so even if they weren't there for you, man, you know, sometimes forgiveness is divine, you know. Um, Man, it brings me back to something that was said in Avengers Endgame, but I don't want to say it. But you know, we all try to do the best that we can in this world with what we're given. And you know, that's, you know, something, you know, my parents always kind of instilled in us, and is, you know, you can't give up. You know, even when things, you know, seem down, they seem bad, you can't just throw your hands in the air and give up. And I've talked about this before. You know, you gotta move on, you gotta move forward. I mean, you can't just throw your hands up in the air and just be like, ah, well, that's that. Oh well. Just not how life is, you know. You can't be like that. I mean, where would we be if people just threw their hands up in the air? And unfortunately, we see that so many times in the world. And that's, you know, it's something that's kind of how things are these days anyway. Everything's just a reaction, you know. It's just a reaction. Just like, you know, we can talk about like this movie, Avengers Endgame. It's the same thing, you know. Like oh, how good is it? Oh, it's great. It's the greatest. It's a 10. But if you don't like it, what is it? It's a 2. It's a 1. You know, it's all like or dislike. There is no in between. You know what I mean? It's, you know, it's all one way or the other. And you know, that's, you know, unfortunately, you can't just go through life like that. You know, when, you know, just because, you know, things going bad, you can't just throw your hands up in the air. You got to keep going forward. And you know, unfortunately, you know, not everybody has had somebody around to instill those values in them. And hopefully, you know, I've worked with a lot of young people, in my days, and hopefully, and there are some I feel I've actually gotten through to in senses like this. In you know, they're just entering the workforce. They're young. helping instill qualities in them, because maybe their parents were too busy working and they were never around, or maybe their parents didn't care and things like that. And you could see some of that in the job that I did and in some of the people I supervised. But it was one of the things I liked doing, was working with the young people, teaching them new things, building teams, getting people to work together, those kinds of things. And this just stuff that I learned from my parents. Like I said, working on the car, monkey see, monkey do. I seen that my father could actually go out there and work on a vehicle, and he probably didn't have all the working knowledge in the world neither. We got those Haynes manuals and things to read out of, but just knowing, seeing that he actually went and did stuff himself, kind of makes me at this point feel like I think I can do it myself. And just seeing your parents do stuff like that, seeing the things that my mom did when I was growing up. She used to run a business, like one of these like side kind of businesses. It was called Home Interiors, where they went in and they had like these big decorative boards, these big styrofoam boards that she took, and she put like she did displays of like how you would put them in your house, like with votive cups and just these like candles and wreaths and pictures and all these different things. And it was just something she did on the side to make money and to help support the family, but also for her to be creative and things like that as well. So I think it was something like something she naturally wanted to do. And so I was growing up seeing these same things as well, and it put in me an entrepreneurial spirit, and that's where I am now. Now I am, I guess you could say, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a franchise business owner. And I run that business and I'm active in that. And that's something I learned from my parents. I learned that from watching them. And a lot of people underestimate the things going on in our world these days and how we can affect them. And I don't want to get too into sounding cornball or anything, because then there's one guy that does all these videos on Facebook that I see all the time, where like oh, all these things you're missing in your life because you on Facebook too much, and all that, just all these little touchy-feely videos and everything. And it's not like that, sure. I mean, it's social media. That's just how it is these days. People spend a lot of time on social media. That doesn't mean that you're neglecting your kids, but you should definitely, make sure you spend time with your kids. But, I don't know. We didn't have that around when I was a kid, but, and that's part of the reason I ended up here doing this channel as well. Just something else to do for me to stretch my creativity and do something fun, and maybe show a little bit more of myself. So, and it's been good. And those are things that I learned from my parents. So make sure even if you have kids, you don't always have to be there for them. So I mean, don't think that just because you're on social media all the time, you're on your phone, you're any different than my parents were back in the day. I mean, my parents weren't always there for us. I mean they were there for us, but they weren't always like there, with those helicopter parents. I mean, they weren't helicopter parents. My mom worked days, my dad worked nights. My grandma lived next door, my uncle lived next door. And believe me, these aren't houses where there's like houses are these days, where they're just like 30 feet from you next door. We had like 6 acres of land, so I mean they were next door. I mean, so it was just like that. I mean, but like I said, my parents were there for us, but they weren't always there. They weren't helicoptering around us all the time. And that's kind of what it almost like there for a while. It seems like that's how society was making it be like, oh, you always got to be there for your kids, and like if you're not, you're neglecting them and all this stuff. And that's unfortunately, it's just not how stuff works. And I am getting some delays here. Let me see if this is this, I don't know. Let me see here. This thing is telling me it's giving me trouble. Let me know if that's giving you guys trouble down in the comments down there. Is this thing being playing games on me here, or what's the deal here? So yeah, like I said, my parents, they were always there for us. So I mean, and we learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of things from my parents, and I hope that I'm doing the same thing for my kids. I hope they're learning for me as well, and that's why I try to do all the things that I do, hoping that my kids see these things and instill good values in them as well. And I don't know. I guess I'm just going on a whole bunch of stuff here tonight. I mean, just thinking about my father, and I know. We've got plenty of friends out there who have lost their fathers as well, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who lost their mothers and everything, and that's another road I know I'm gonna have to go down one of these days. As one of these days I'll be losing my mother, as well, And no matter how much you're prepared for it, I mean, we all know, we all know we're gonna die. Death never comes at a convenient time. God, there's a funny quote about that in Avengers Endgame as well. Yeah, man, I wish I could go into spoilers, but you're never quite ready for it. No matter how much even when things are coming, it's never easy to deal with. And luckily, we've got friends and people around us. Hopefully, you've got friends and people out there to help get you through those rough times. I know I certainly did. I know I certainly did. Even that after that night 17 years ago. I mean, this time right now, man, I can almost remember exactly what I was doing. I was probably hanging over at Adam's house and his mother's Deborah. We were all there. We were all there hanging out. I know Brian and Christina were there. Pretty sure Walker was there. We were all it's kind of surreal thinking about it. Even at the time, it was it just didn't seem real. And that's how things happen in times like that, when you lose somebody. It just you never know quite how to feel in the moment. You just kind of numb. A lot of things going through your head. You don't want to you don't want to believe it. And it's really crazy. When he passed away, I actually wasn't living back home at the time. I was actually in town visiting from California, because I live in California now. I was actually just in town visiting, and some things happened. And anyway, I ended up being stuck back home for a little while, and this all happened while I was back home. So as bad of things that happened, the reason why I was back there and everything happened. It all happened for a reason. And I'm in the end, I'm glad it happened. The events unfolded that way, because without it, I wouldn't have been able to see my father before he actually died that day. And I actually seen him on my way to the movie theater to go see Spider-Man at the movie theater. I actually seen him on my way into town, because we lived 13 miles out of town at the time. I actually seen him on his way home, waved hi to him, and, he was on his motorcycle, man, doing what he loved doing. And, I guess and he died on his motorcycle, doing what he loved doing. I guess if there's a way to go, that's the way to do it. Like I said, it's just, yeah. I don't know, you just never, you're never prepared for it, and even thinking back on it, even trying to think about how I felt about it, now, I mean, I still feel the same way. I still kind of feel numb about it. It kind of seems surreal. At the time, I wasn't living back home. I was just there visiting back home. But, I've even lost other close ones to me since then. Not too soon after that, I lost a good dear brother and my friend Ryan. Lost him not too soon after that. Another good friend, my friend Bro, my uncle Lee. I lost him. Just some other friends. Another friend, Matt. Lost my friend Matt here. Man, that wasn't too long ago neither. But it doesn't seem like it was too long ago. But it's probably already been 2-3 years ago. How long ago was that, man? Lost a lot of people along the way, and like I said, you never know, how to feel about it, man. And like at the time when I lost my father, the way one of the ways was drinking, trying to drink those sorrows away, and did a lot of drinking at those times. And now I mean I wouldn't do that now. Deal with it in different ways, but man, like I said, I still feel numb when I go to think about it. Even just sitting here thinking about it right now, just kind of I don't know, because you get so many thoughts running through your head when these things happen, and man, and I know, like I said, I know there's probably people out there watching this stream right now that are tuning in live, or even that are gonna watch it later. You've probably lost somebody close to you. And it's probably the same thing when you think back about it. I mean, it's hard, and you probably still don't know how to feel. When you think about it, like how do you feel? How did you feel? And that's the hard thing is, I still don't know how I feel about it. Obviously I miss my father. I miss all my friends that have gone. And at the same time, like I said, I wasn't living back home at the time when I lost my cousin. I wasn't had seen him in years, and at that point, it's kind of detached. It's kind of like you weren't there anyway. So it's like they're not there anyway. And then you think about it, and it's like, man, but they're not there now. They're not there now to talk to. Like, what I would give to talk to my father now, what I'd give to talk to my uncle, to my cousin, to my friends that I no longer get to see, that I hadn't seen in years. What I wouldn't give to talk to them and be able to see them, give them a hug, and not even that, just just to get a look from him, like a certain look, just all those things that bring you back to those times, that's like that's a sign of the times, like signs, movies, movies are something I always have close connections to in life. Music, another thing that we all have deep connections to in our lives. You could think about fond memories that you have of music and movies, and these connections you have with people. Like I was talking about, my good friend Ryan. One of the connections I have with him is Faith No More. When he moved back into town from where he was living in Lawrence, Kansas at the time. He was listening to a lot of Faith No More, King for a Day Fool for a Lifetime, and had just come out. And 1994, and we were jamming that a lot. And I was singing at the time. I had this microphone. It was, I guess you could say, karaokeing into it, all kinds of crazy. We were at Jason's house. Bro had these big old stereos, man. Freaking ran a center, man. Ran a center. Bro had that, man. I had that thing hooked up. That was like a studio system. But anyway, man. Before like I said, I could go on about this stuff all day long. I see we got some live chats here going on. Let's go ahead and get into live chats. Let's go ahead and get into those. And welcome all everybody to the live chat. Here we go. First here on the stream, we got Mike Walker. Oof. Mike, welcome to the show, my brother. Thank you for showing up tonight, man. Appreciate having you here. Mike says, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Believe me, I was getting close to being ball. King Shifter, welcome. In case you guys don't know King Shifter, you should go check out King Shifter. Awesome band. Some good friends of mine. S&A Feeney, Sna, Nah. What? I don't know. Q-Ball. Welcome to the show, Q-Ball. Q-Ball says, you're for nerds. I am for nerds. I'm a nerdy person. What can I say? Mike says, I like cartoons. I'm a grown man. Yeah, I definitely like cartoons. Probably, but the kind of cartoons that people really say you're a nerd over for liking. So that's the kind of cartoons that I like. Let's see. King Shifter says, shut your mouth. Just cheesing. All right. I'm on YouTube. Shmeep. Hardcore likes cartoons. Yes, they do. As a matter of fact. Yeah, and the killing of worthless animals. But that's just mean. We're not supposed to talk about that kind of stuff these days. Walker says, Hardcore's bass player sucks. He does. If you guys don't know who Hardcore is, they're definitely a band you should get on the internet and see if you can find some good old folk tales about. Because there is a lore that goes a long way, and one of those lores actually is about Bob Entrails. And as a matter of fact, I mean, he's the bass player, but is he really the bass player, Bob Entrails? I don't know. Well, he sucks regardless. Mike Walker says, free comics, shmee comics. Yeah, but hey, they're free, right? So you should go get them. Do you have a local comic shop near you? Do they have one of those? I mean, there's got to be a geek culture going on there. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's geek culture going on everywhere these days. It's so mainstream now. It's so mainstream. It's so edgy. It's so cool to be a geek like me now. Kind of felt the same way when all of a sudden, I'm sure stoners felt the same way back in those days when all of a sudden everybody's bumping Black Sunday and smoking weed. Everybody was probably sitting there going, it's so cool now. It's so hip. Weed culture, man. King Shifter says, you see that motorcycle wreck? That guy was all jacked off. I don't know. I don't know which one. Mike Walker says, yay, can't wait. You're jacked off. How'd it go again? Pretty exciting Friday night. Hey, It is. Oh, you know what? I think what you want is here's what you want. If you want me to excite things up here, and we are. I'm sure I'm a ways here on the comments. If you want me to excite things up here, we'll excite them up like this. We'll turn the music up. Is that better? A little better. And jam out a little bit. In case you guys don't know, this music is actually from Bone Pony Malone. An excellent band. You know, I'm not sure that you can actually find Bone Pony Malone here on YouTube or probably anywhere. It is actually something. Once again, it's one of those old folktales. It's of old lore. If you know about it, you know. If you don't, you're probably going to have to inbox me here on my About section to see if maybe we might have a copy of that around somewhere that you could purchase. I'm sure I could find a hookup for something like that. They're probably out there somewhere. And I know a guy who might be able to get a hold of them. Okay. Pepsi is so delicious. Um, Bananas. Nice big gulp. Thanks. It is a big gulp. You should see me when I'm gulping it down. Okay. It's no box folding, but it's all right. What's no box folding? Oh yeah, box folding. I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it. Not what for Avengers Endgame. I'm waiting for it to come out on VHS. Ooh yeah, need those VHS tapes. I got some VHS tapes still. I'm a scalper. I got tickets for 5K. Hit me up. Are those Avengers Endgame tickets or Spider-Man Far From Home tickets? Mike Walker says, I'm chatting publicly as Mike Walker. Vincent says, I will see it again tomorrow. And welcome, Vincent. Welcome to the live show. Walker says, an hour of this shit? An hour? We're going over an hour, buddy. We're pushing an hour. That's what we do here on the live show. I typically go over an hour. Sometimes it's been a little bit shorter. But I want to try to keep it a little bit short today because I want to get out here with the family and watch season 2 of Cobra Kai. I haven't got to catch up on that yet. Walker says, nope. After I kick Walker in the nuts, says Vincent. Kingshifter says, I'm also Mike Walker, just logged in as on a different device. Do we have spam accounts going on here? Is that what we got going on here? We got spam, like, you're not even trolling, but we got spam accounts going on here. Mike Walker, what are you doing? Is Mike Walker actually cue ball as well? You know, I feel like I feel like the same thing happens when I get on my Facebook. I get like messages from all kinds of people and I'm on Facebook and I feel like they're all the same person. You ever get that? You ever get that when you're on Facebook? Like you're talking to like you get a message from and it seems like you're having a conversation with all the same people, but like they're different people. Like you wonder if they're fake profiles, but they're not actually fake because you can actually see them. They're not fake. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so Mike Walker, are you out there spamming up the channels here, man? Um, yep. My wife says, yep, nerd for sure. Q-Ball says, I feel sorry for your mamas. What, mine? Why? What? What'd you say? Says King Shifter. You need to improvise some good videos. Well, sometimes I improvise some really good ones. I just have some bullet points ready. It's just been so crazy lately. I haven't had a chance to really get caught up with a lot of things to make this a more well-formatted show. Now, the kind of format I started basing this show off of was like, I'm not sure if you've ever seen the John Campea show here on YouTube, but it's a pretty good channel. But he does the show that he does live every single day for an hour and a half. And I want to kind of do it like that, but I've just been so busy lately. I haven't quite been able to quite get it exactly to the quality that I want to get it to. And, you know, I will get it there soon enough because I've got some different things I want to do with this show. And things, you know, I've taken things from this show that I do here on the Trailer Park Live and incorporated them into other things that I do. Like on Mondays, I do the Trailer Park News, which I used to do that here on this show just like as a funny little skit kind of thing. And I need to get back to some of those skits that I want to do, just funny little skits that I want to get back into doing, just to show some more creativity here on the channel. To add a little more to this live video. Like last week here on the show, I showed some of the videos that some friends of mine over at Those Damn Skits here on YouTube have been doing. And they're just doing little funny videos. And I want to do some skits like that. Okay, Walker says, Fleas? What? Q-Ball says, Walker isn't busy. No, Mike Walker's never busy. Mike Walker says, Your Mom's a good movie. don't know if I've ever seen that one. I seen My Stepmother Was an Alien. Is that close? Vincent says, I tone. What tone? Is my tone bad or Deftones? Which tone? Cue Ball says Infinity War was better. It was on some levels, and it wasn't on some levels. There's some things on this movie that about Avengers Endgame that are better. There are some things. Cue Ball says hands down. King Shifter says you should consider having topless chicks with big racks in the background wrestling while you discuss comics, for us toxic males. I've thought about that before. The only thing is I don't really have a whole lot of room behind me. But maybe I could see if I could get some green screen going on, and maybe we could do like, have you ever seen that movie? Oh God, what was that movie? Director Todd Phillips done it. It was one of his greats. You know what I'm talking about. Old School. Maybe I could cut that in here just on the background. I don't know. I might get copyright strikes for that too. Speaking of which, King Shifter, I actually got a copyright strike for using some of your music in one of my videos, even with your permission. Can you believe that? The nerve of YouTube and CD Baby to slap me with a content strike over music that I had permission from the content creator to use. YouTube. I went ahead. I didn't challenge it any further because I wouldn't have to get in legal trouble. YouTube. Okay, green jacket, blue jacket. Who gives a shit? I don't. I don't give a shit. There's nothing exciting about movies. Are you kidding me? There's a lot of exciting things about movies, and you know it. You know there's movies out there that you get excited about. Don't lie. Don't lie. Cue Ball. It's odd how 13% of the characters committed 50% of the murders in that movie. In which one? Are we talking about Once Upon a Time in China? Cue Ball says crazy. Mike Walker says, hey guys, in all this, does he talk? Hey guys, is this all he does is talk? Typically, this is all I do is talk. Typically. Yeah, pretty much. No, I am going to be planning on some other videos, like I said, where I get some guests in and stuff like that. I will do that at some point on one of these videos. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going to be doing some live streams where I'm going to be at the comic shop, and maybe we'll get some other people on there showing up. King Shifter says, Walker, you should watch Brawl in Cell Block 99. Newer Vince Vaughn movie is damn good. And yes, as a matter of fact, King Shifter, that is a great recommendation. Brawl in Cell Block 99 with Vince Vaughn is really good movie. As a matter of fact, Vince Vaughn did another movie recently with that same director, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it's, oh man, something concrete. Face concrete. Oh man. Dragged Across Concrete? Nah, I can't remember. It was something, but Vince Vaughn's in that as well, and I heard it was a really good one as well. So you should check that out. Vincent says Endgame is greater than Infinity War. Yes and no. Like I said, I'm still juggling that on there. Mike Walker says Lobo greater than Iron Man. Well, that's. One's not a movie though, so we're talking about the movies here. But if we're talking about the comics, I mean, there's certainly an argument to be had there. Cue Ball says, "I said hands down. Lobo could be a great movie. Lobo, it could be. Is that coming up? I'm kind of out of loop here on that. It could be. Lobo needs to be a film already. I would have to be unrated though. Yeah, maybe so. I feel the same way about like a Punisher movie. The Punisher is now basically technically part of Disney property, and to me, you can't make the Punisher movie and make it be PG-13. You simply can't because there's too much gun violence in a Punisher movie, and you got to show that gun violence. That's the Punisher. It's got to be rated R. I mean, and I just don't see Punisher showing up in the MCU. It'd be crazy if you did. Okay. Q-Ball says, if not pussified, well, I don't want to see any of them pussified, really. Mike Walker says, yes, it would. My favorite by far. I'm guessing we're talking about... Okay. King Shifter says, Mickey Rooney would be perfect as Lobo, too. Mickey Rooney would be. Back in the day, Mickey Rooney was great. I actually grew up liking a lot of his movies, so... it's a damn shame he is already gone. It is a damn shame, too. You cracking wise? Anyway, Yeah, Mickey Rooney was a great. He was a great one. A lot of hype about Endgame. Is it better than Deadpool? Ooh, that's a hard question to answer. Endgame it's as a film from a filmmaker standpoint, yes. From a fun aspect, it's hard to beat Deadpool. Deadpool is just a great movie. It's funny, it's got comedy. I mean, it don't have a whole lot of drama. It's got drama, but not the same kind of drama like Avengers Endgame does. Just not the same kind of drama. But asking if it's better than Deadpool, it's a different movie altogether. It's a different movie altogether. Um, I liked it more than Deadpool, but so much of it is dependent on familiarity with the characters. That's true. That's very true. Good point. Good point. Cue Ball says Volume One way better. Hence, Infinity War way better. Read the gosh darn comments. My first movie rule. Okay, so we're gonna go back here. Volume One way better. Hence, Infinity War way better. Read the comments. Okay, I'm reading the comments now. Yes. Volume One to me of Kill Bill. Ah, man, I don't know. It was better. It was Volume 1 was better than Volume 2 to me of the Kill Bills. That was. Now, does that make Infinity War better than Endgame? Oh, man, I don't know. The way I'm feeling now, I feel like Infinity War is the better movie because Endgame just had some fan service things in there that I really feel were just done for fan service that kind of bring it back a little bit about being better than Avengers Infinity War was. But Avengers Infinity War was a different movie about a different thing altogether. Because really, Infinity War, Thanos was kind of the hero of that movie. Really, I mean, he was, yeah, he won in the end. The hero always wins, right? Don't the hero always win in these movies? And he had the hero's arc in the movie. So I mean, you got to say, I mean, but the way I'm feeling now, I think Infinity War was a, just a little bit better than Endgame. Although Endgame is so great and on so many different levels. I'm going to get into that in many more videos coming up. Okay, my first movie role, Cue Ball says. Now, he is talking about Spider-Man here. The Spider-Man movie, yes. First movie role. Yeah, we worked with the Macho Man on that film. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, Cue Ball says, rest in peace. The Gift is great. Yes, King Shifter. The Gift is a great movie. And I'm not like a huge Kate Blanchett fan. Like, I love her. Like, anything she's in, she is a great actress and she's in a lot of movies. I'm just not a huge fan of hers. I don't know. It's weird. But everything that she's in, I really enjoy her in. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but she is a great actress and she's in a great lot of movies. And she's in a lot of great movies, I guess. She's in a lot of great movies. Weird thing though, yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of her, but she's great in that movie, as is Keanu Reeves. You know who I'm not a fan of really that's in that movie, The Gift, is Hilary Swank. A lot of people love Hilary Swank. I'm just not really into Hilary Swank. I don't see the appeal. I'm not big on Hilary Swank, although she is a good actress as well. She's a great actress as well. Because I'm not sure if you've ever seen Million Dollar Baby. Million Dollar Baby was a great movie, and she was awesome in that movie. Man, I haven't seen that in a while. Million Dollar Baby is a good one. Man, maybe I'm gonna have to watch that and go back and review that. That is a good one. Q-Ball says, not sure if I've seen The Gift. You gotta see The Gift, man. It's good. It's got Neo in it. What haven't you seen now? I'm pretty sure you did. We were trying to watch a movie. Oh, we. Yep, I'm sure Cue Ball's probably seen it. Was seen at the Dollar Theater anyway. Yeah, I think I seen it at the Dollar Theater too. Yeah, it's a good one. Damn good times. Hey, take a look at that picture. Oh, I can't. I better not be singing copyrighted material here. I might get a content strike. Yep, those were good times. Yep. One of the things I miss most about my father is not having him to call when I need advice on a home repair or engine troubles. And that's true, man. The things, my father, he pretty hasn't been around for most of my adult life, but luckily he was there through my teen years and my formative years as a child for me to learn from. And we're getting back into personal stuff here, man, and that's part of it. One of the things we got to do every day, just try to instill that in our kids and honor our fathers and our parents. and make them proud. We gotta make our parents proud. That's my mission in life now, and has been. I guess that's what they raise us for, is to make for me to make my parents proud, and I sure hope I do, man. And believe me, I've done plenty of things. I've done plenty of things in my life, for my parents to not be proud about. Believe me, I've done plenty of things that, and I can't say that I'm proud about them, but I can't say that I'm not glad that they have them, because they are part of who I am and part of what makes me who I am. Unfortunately, and and that's like I said. If you've got kids, that's part of your responsibility, is to instill good values in them, and I hope I'm doing the same with my kids. And and I think I'm doing something right, because they make me proud every day. My kids make me damn proud every day. And there's not a day that goes by where I don't look at my kids and they don't bring tears to my eye, thinking about, just how good they are, how much I love them, and the good example that they set. One of the things I've always told my kids is they don't have to be the best at anything. They don't have to be the best, at all their schoolwork. They don't have to be the best in their karate class. They don't have to be the best at all that. I just want them to make me proud. I want them to set a good example, and that's one thing I've always asked them to do. When I said, when you're at school, you don't have to be the best at school. You don't have to be the most popular. You don't have to have all the friends. But one thing I want you to do is I want you to set a good example for all the other kids out there, because all the other kids out there, maybe they don't have somebody there setting a good example for them. Maybe their mom and dads aren't always there for them. Not all kids out there are as fortunate as they are. And, that's something I tell my kids all the time. Set a good example. Stand up for others. If you see somebody being bullied, and like I said, definitely set a good example, because you got to. Because not all not all kids out there have a good example to follow. And you know what? My kids have made me damn proud, damn proud. Their whole lives, setting a good example, and especially like my oldest. She was there when her sister was born. At 18 months old. She was ready to be a big sister. She was already there, ready to hold her sister, and helping feed her in the hospital. And that's just the one thing I've always asked them. And even her sister, she's made me proud along the way. They've both been good sisters, setting a good example for their brother. And and he does a good job too. Now he is the baby of the family, and you can definitely see it. He's a little more behind and everything. He's been babied by myself, by his mother, definitely by his grandmother. But he's a good kid too, man. And I think he sets a good example, for other kids to follow as well. And like I said, I don't ask my kids a whole lot of my kids, but to set good examples. And I'm glad, to me, in my eyes, they do. And I know a lot of parents out there like, oh, my kids are good, they're angels. But like, I'm not just saying that mine are. I've seen it. I just see it in play. Even when I'm not around, I've actually had other parents tell me, like, "Oh my God, your kids are so good." I took my kids when they were younger. I took all three of them to the movie theater, and I can't even remember what movie it was. It was one that was like more adult oriented, but my kids would have still been into it. They were still entertained. That they were good throughout the whole movie. And this old couple, I mean, they were older. I mean, they had to be easily in their 60s, 70s. Um, the old lady, the lady, she turns to me after the movie was over, the credits were done. We stayed through all that stuff. Her and her husband actually stopped in the movie theater and turned around to me, and she just said, "Sir, I just wanted to take a minute, and I just wanted to thank you, um, for you have such well behaved kids." She goes, "I was scared when we walked in here and we seen you were here with your kids, because normally we go to the movies, and when we see people with kids, we don't like to stay, because kids get loud and they get unruly and obnoxious at the movie theater. It's a lot to take a kid into a movie theater for an hour and a half, 2 hours into a movie theater." And and it felt really good to get that compliment, from those old people about my kids at the movie theater. And that's just something like, my parents loved the movies. They took us to movies when we were kids, and we were always good kids at the theater, they said too. And even when we were babies, they said we rarely cried, in inopportune times. We were always really good kids. And Like I said, that it all starts in the home. It's something I've talked about on this channel before. All these things start in the home. The things that we instill in our kids, and just hearing that from that lady, it made me feel really good. Some neighbors close to us, they've got kids that are good friends with our kids. They go to school with them, and my kids have gone over there to their house to hang out. Their kids have come over to our house and hung out, and they've got good kids as well. And they even they have come over and they're like, oh, your kids are so good, they're so well behaved, and all this and that. And I really want to tell them, like, it's because my kids know that if they're not good and well behaved somewhere, I'm gonna choke them. I wouldn't really choke them, but they know that I'm not going to be happy with them if they're not well behaved somewhere. But it feels good to hear that from them. And you know uh from other people that that my kids are, that they're good and they're well behaved. And I feel good also that because these same people actually, and this is something else. Like, I put responsibility on my kids. It's something I've always wanted to put responsibility on my kids, and not responsibility like they have to be adults, but just responsibility to let them know that that I trust them, that I love them, and that they're doing a good job. And just little ways, like, my kid, my oldest is 9 years old now. Her sister is 7. My son is 4. And I've left them at home alone before. I've left them at home for 30 minutes. When they were younger, it was for 20 minutes. Run to the store, grab a pizza really quick that I ordered. Run to the store and pick it up and get it home. Then it became half hour. I gotta run to Walmart and pick something up. Or I don't shop at Walmart. What am I talking about? Anyway, go to the store, pick something up, and sometimes you get there, they got long lines. And then as they got older, it's like, okay, I've got my business now. Sometimes I don't always want to drag them out there to work with me. Like, hey, kids, there's a few places I've got to go really quick. I'm gonna be back. I might be gone just over an hour. Be good. The neighbors, we got neighbors across the street. They're good. If you need anything, you can get a hold of them. But you got my number. You can give me a call. Call your mom. But if anything goes bad, I trust them to be good. And give them an inch, and they've never failed me. They've always been good. And one of the things that happened was, obviously, our neighbors, they do the same thing with their kids. I think everybody does. You trust your kids. They're old enough. You trust leaving them at home. And one time they trusted one of their children at home and left them home alone. And she's a good kid, and if her this I would totally trust her kids too, their kids too, leaving them at home alone. But for whatever reason, she was there and she got scared or whatever, and because it was a silly reason, but she got upset, so and she couldn't get a hold of her mom. So she came over here and she was on our, knocked on our front door and she was crying. She was upset. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, did something happen? I thought maybe she was like at home with, her mom or dad. And, like one of them was having a heart attack or something bad happened. I was like, I was just was thinking something really bad. And, she's like, oh no, like, oh, they just, they went off for this and they just haven't come back in time. And I'm like, I was like, oh, I was like, okay, I felt so relieved, um, and so like we got a hold of her parents, like, oh yeah, no, this thing just went over a little bit, and we didn't want to interrupt this, whatever was going on. And I'm like, okay, I get it. So they came and they got her and like, oh, like, thank you so much, like, she knew, all this and that. I'm like, I get it. But again, that was another thing that made me feel good as well. Just about, like my kids setting a good example and obviously being good friends with these good kids. And, kind of makes me feel like I'm doing a good job that, this other little girl felt comfortable coming to our house to, I guess seek safety, to feel safe. And, like I said, my kids make me proud every day. I do the best I can to make my parents proud every day, and that's, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not here trying to brag or boast because everybody, most of the people I know have good kids, and are there for their kids, and unfortunately, not everybody can be, and that's why I always ask my kids to set good examples for other kids while they are out there,
in the world. And you know why I try to do things like working on my truck and try to do things where my kids are seeing what they're doing. Like I've actually had them sitting in here where I've been editing some of my videos to just, so they can see the different things I'm doing. They see what I do with my business too. I got a small business. They've gone to work with me. They go out, like I'm working some shows this weekend. They're going to be there helping out at times. Just some of the things we do. And yeah, man, that was a getting long winded on going off this comment, but yeah, um, hopefully I will be there for my kids to give them advice and when they have home repairs and automotive repairs because, as an adult, my father hasn't been, but he was when I was a child. He was when I was a child, but I do certainly still wish my father was around, even just for the just those little mundane things. Like even my uncle, man. Since even after my father had passed, my uncle, one of my uncles that's no longer with us. He was always there when I had engine questions. I'd be like, hey, like this is going wrong. I'd call and get advice from him, and he was one of my good close uncles. He got me. He's actually one of my big influences of music. He was into to rock and metal music when we were growing up, and he was close enough in age. I say we were growing up, so he was a big influence on those kinds of things. And yeah, I certainly wish they could be around for things like that, man. Especially my father. I know you, and I know you certainly wish that your father was still around. I know we've had plenty of those kinds of conversations in the past. In the past. Um, King Shifter says some people do throw their hands up. Yeah, they do, man. And that's just hopefully, that's why we got to be present in our kids' lives to to instill those values in them so they don't just throw their hands up because and I've talked about this before. Too many people just throw their hands up in the air over the simplest things. I mean, look at the divorce rate in this country. Um, lots of bad things happen, man. We've all done stupid things. We all make mistakes, man. And you know this as well as I do. Anybody watching this show right now knows that we've all made mistakes, and we've all had other people do pull mistakes that affect us too, and we all make mistakes. And that's the thing is, there's a lot of things out there that are forgivable. And you don't just throw your hands in the air and just say F it. These past 15 years of my life were for nothing. They were all for nothing. Let's just throw our hands up in the air. Like, hell with my wife, or hell with my kids. Like, this, whatever this happened, it just affected my life so much. I just gotta throw my hands in the air because just this one bad thing. And unfortunately, that's just a situation that happens too. All too common in the world these days. Just throw your hands up in the air. It's the easy solution. Why? I mean, why would you want to do anything that's hard or challenging? Why? Why? I could go on about that all day. Um, Cue Ball says, I'm sorry, I can't think of going through a rough patch and working through it without thinking of that scene in Dumb and Dumber when he drove 400 miles out of the way. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber, man. It's funny how, like movies like that, like a movie that's like a stupid comedy can just touch on so many subtle levels, like like those real world things in life, like just like a Mike Judge movie, like the movie Office Space. So many profound things can be extracted from that movie. Just like Dumb and Dumber, like so many profound things can be extracted from a stupid comedy, something that just makes you laugh the whole time. Yeah, it's just movie making, man. King Shifter says John Denver was full of shit, man. Um, about plant a tree, like planting a tree. I mean, you should plant a tree. Need some shade up in this piece, man. King Shifter says the problem is kids neglecting their lives while on social media, and that's true. That's true. And that's one thing. Like my son, he's 4 years old, but lately he's been playing a lot of the Spider-Man game, and I tell him go outside and play. He's like, nah. I'm like, just get out of here. Make him go outside and play. But I grew up spending a lot of time watching TV and things indoors, and I ended up okay, right? I don't know about that. I always hate when people say that. It's just such a cop out, and it's like it's one of the cop outs. And I don't want to. And I'm not going to get too far into this because I don't want to. This is definitely a divided subject. But talking about disciplining and spanking kids. I feel one way about it. Somebody else feels the other way about it. But people say like, oh, like. Like we rode bikes around our neighborhood without helmets, and I ended up all right. Yeah, but you also probably didn't have assholes driving down your street with their face buried in their phones, driving 60 miles an hour, not paying attention to the road, and just plowing over you. That's what we got nowadays. That's the another unfortunate thing of our society. But like I said, I ended up all right. Well, yeah, you ended up all right. You go ahead and let your kid ride their bike around the neighborhood with that asshole who's not paying attention, like the same asshole who ran a stop sign and totaled my work van. You know, unfortunately, yeah. Un- Unfortunate. It's just yeah. But yeah, I mean, social media. I mean, you can't neglect your personal lives, and I mean, there's a balance. You got to have a balance to it, and there for a while. It seems like it's just so easy to be on social media because it feels like you're there with your friends talking on there, so it feels social. So it feels like it's not so bad. It's not so bad, and it's not so bad if you're communicating like me with some of my friends back home. Seeing their pictures and just all that kinds of stuff. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, there's that. But then there's just spending all your time scrolling through all those stupid clickbait articles and all that stuff, and sometimes that can be funny and entertaining too. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with social media, but sometimes we do spend too much time on there. Q Ball says I'm the Apache attack helicopter parent. Who I know you are too, dude. You are, and I can see it in your kid, dude. I can see it in your children, Q Ball, that you are definitely the Apache attack helicopter parent. It's reflective in both of your kids. And I'm just assuming that you have two kids by saying both. Cue ball. I don't know who you are. Ha ha. King Shifter says ha ha. Choppy for a few seconds. It looks all fine to me. Okay, so my stream was doing bad. Vincent says, don't spoil it. What, haven't you done a review? I've done a review and I've done some spoiler ones, but I went in and said they were going to be spoilery and stuff like that. I don't want to do spoilery stuff in a live video where I'm not covering spoiler stuff. Vince came back. Vince says here, King Shifter, you never forget where you were and who was there, no doubt. Yeah, you never do, man. You never do. Huh. Yeah. Um, okay. King Shifter says, I've got you covered with the drinking part. All right, man. I do need to get out and have a beer. As a matter of fact, before I was starting this show today, just thinking about just the things about today and everything. I was actually thinking like, man, today I feel like getting drunk and doing some singing, man. I'm gonna do some singing and get drunk. Uh, yeah. Maybe that's what I'll do after. Maybe we'll watch it. If my family's asleep, maybe I'll wake them up with some rock band and do some karaoke to that. If I'm not gonna watch Cobra Kai. Um, uh, King Shifter says, when a person dies, your memories with them are left with you alone. That's a profound realization. Yeah? Yeah, that's true. All those memories, man. All those memories. The good ones, the bad ones. And there's, and that's the thing, like, I'm a huge film geek, a lot of things, movies, music, they all mark significant things in our lives. And, one of the things, there's some things, like, my dad was a comic geek. He liked these comic book movies, I was there with him when X-Men first premiered at the movie theater. He really liked Wolverine, obviously. We got that first Incredible Hulk, but um, he wasn't even around at this time. A couple years ago, the movie Logan came out, which is probably like one of the best comic book movies ever made with Hugh Jackman, and he plays Logan. And there's this in the movie Logan. Um, there's some scenes there's some scenes that happen in that movie, and there's some scenes in that movie that really remind me of my father. And even thinking about the scenes, like even like right now, but when I watch those scenes back in the movie, um, yeah, it's it's like I see my father talking to me, um, and just some conversations that I had had with my father when I was growing up. Um, that I don't know, just the way these scenes happen in this movie. I mean, it reminds me of a conversation similar. I guess similar kind of conversation I had with my father when I was growing up, and just watching that movie. Like I said, every time I watch that movie and thinking about those scenes, it just yeah, it reminds me of my dad, man. I miss him. I do miss him. But that is pretty crazy. Some of those memories, those certain memories, that we have with our loved ones. That those shared moments when you're alone or whatnot. Those are memories that are really only between you and them for the rest of your life. Uh, Thanks a lot for that, King Shifter. I was keeping it. I was I was keeping. I had him pretty well held back most of the time here, man, and you got me with that comment. That is a pretty profound realization. 17 years anyway, man. Still love you, Dad. Still think about you every day, man. Love you. Still wish you were here with you. Nothing I wouldn't give to have you here with me. Even for an hour. Even for an hour, just to have a conversation. And I know there's other people out there who feel the exact same way I do about any of their loved ones. We miss them, and there's nothing we wouldn't do. There's nothing we wouldn't do to have them here with us. Moving on. Next comment. King Shifter says, the earlier comment was referring to a dirt bike video where a guy wiped out and a person we know described the rider as being all jacked off instead of jacked up. Hashtag cringe. um, don't worry. When I seen that comment, King Shifter, earlier about the that one about yeah, what you're talking about, and I assumed it was about something else. I didn't think that comment was about I didn't think that comment was about my father's my father's accent. I didn't think that. I kind of figured it was something else. Because some of you in the chat here know what's going on. Yeah, no. He says hashtag cringe. No, I got it. I got it. At the time, I don't think anybody that knows was gonna make that comment about that. I don't think anybody would do that. That would be like troll to the max. Like I've done some trolling, man, but that'd be max troll. That would be like it would still be a troll that I could forgive a person for, but that would be like hashtag max troll. That would I think that would put God Emperor Trump troll to like out the window. Like that would wow. That would yeah. Dragged across concrete. That was the name of that. That was the name of that Vince Vaughn movie. Ah, damn, bro. Now I gotta go watch Logan. Man, yeah. If you haven't seen the movie Logan, man, that's a great movie. That is a great movie. That's one of like, obviously it was Hugh Jackman's last role as Wolverine. The last movie he's ever gonna do is Wolverine. And it really was, man. It was a great send off to that character. And I mean, I remember even that movie. It's rated R. Okay, it's a rated R movie. And like I said, my kids, they knew movies aren't real life. I've stressed those kinds of things to them. And like I said, I'm trying to raise little film buffs as well. I took my kids to see the 20th anniversary. Was the 20th anniversary of Pulp Fiction at the movie theater? Might have been 25th anniversary. I don't think they were born at 20. Um, I took them to see that at the movie theater, and they were still young, really young at the time, so they may not exactly remember that. But I've taken them to other movies at the movie theater, and like, I took them to see Logan at the movie theater. It's rated R. I'm that bad parent that takes his kids to see rated R movies at the movie theater. I grew up in the '80s, okay, and we did those sort of things. You don't think like I had cousins and I had uncles and things like that who watched rated R movies and other things beyond rated R when I was growing up. So, I mean, that was the '80s, man. Like, whatever. Thank God for family. Thank God for family. But I took my kids to see Logan at the movie theater, and like I said, it was such a good movie, and a good moving movie as well. A great movie done by a great film director. And like I said, it's rated R, but I'm raising little film buffs myself. But even in that movie, and that's one of the things I like taking my kids to see movies for too, is to see their reactions to it. Because even at the movie Logan, I want to give a spoiler out, but if you haven't seen it, but even in these particular scenes in the movie Logan, even my kids were crying, and to look over and see that my kids got it, they get it, you know. Um, to see it, to look over and see in the movie that they're emotionally invested in it, that they're actually brought to tears over somebody, in this movie. I mean, that brought me to tears. Thinking about it, I mean, it lets me feel like, like, okay, like I said, like, I feel I'm doing my job as a parent good anyway. But then knowing that, I got them to see this movie, and they liked the movie and they wanted to see the movie, and then this film director comes up and delivers this movie that even my kids feel the impact of, man. It's just good stuff, man. Good stuff. So yeah, you definitely got to check out Logan. It's a great movie. You gotta go. You gotta see it. I mean, you don't gotta go out and see it. I'm thinking of Avengers Endgame here. And Carmela sends hearts. Hello, Carmela. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for the comment. Yeah. Dang, man. Yeah, I really was that. All of that was unplanned. I really was trying not to go there tonight. Really was, man. I really turned on the waterworks, man. Luckily, I have this big ass cup of water. Otherwise, I'd probably be dehydrated from that. I'd probably look like Tony Stark did in Avengers Endgame. Um. So, anyway, gosh, I've gone on for almost 2 hours now. I guess I probably got to end the show soon, but we're going to go through the last of the comments here. King Shifter says, when I was in 6th to 7th grade, it was always sleepovers watching Friday the 13th flicks. These days, my kids wouldn't even entertain the idea of Jason Voorhees. Right? I know, isn't that weird? Like, kids these days are so freaked out. Like, I showed my daughters, I put on Gremlins for them. I put on Gremlins, and they're like, oh, like, it's so scary. And I'm like, I kind of giggled, but I didn't want to like laugh at him. But I'm like, this movie isn't scary. This movie's great. When I was your age, this was my movie right here, man. I loved the Gremlins growing up, but I don't know. Maybe I'm doing a bad job as a parent if my kids can't even watch Gremlins. Maybe I am. They're like, I can't even watch Gremlins. Oh man, vodka and water? No, it's scotch. Scotch. I love scotch. Oh no, it's not. It's just water. It's just water. Um, yeah, no, not drinking tonight. Got a lot of stuff to do in the morning, And this whole weekend, man, it's gonna be busy. So yeah, and speaking of which, I've let the stream go on a little bit longer than I should have, a little bit longer than I planned on. So anyway, thank you all for tuning into the Second Street Marvel today and tuning in to the Trailer Park Live. I do this stream live every single Friday night at 8 p.m. So in case you're not ever busy, you should come check it out here on Fridays here on the Trailer Park Live. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel today. If you haven't already, please make sure you like this video. Leave a comment down in the comment section to get entered into a chance to win a copy of Warner Brothers Aquaman. And like I said, please make sure you hit the thumbs up. It helps the algorithm and all this stuff, helps grow the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning into Second Street Marvel today. If you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed. Click the little bell so you get notifications anytime we have uploaded new content, and you get that notification anytime I'm getting ready to do a live video. Also, if you could, make sure you share this video with a friend and tell them to come check us out here on the Second Street Marvel so we hit those 200 subscribers even faster. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. You all have a very good night and have a great weekend. Free comic book days tomorrow. May the 4th be with you. And have a good Cinco de Mayo. Another reason to drink. Have a good night. Have a great weekend. Bye.